Hello and welcome to another thought for the day. A few weeks ago, before the schools returned and were reopened to all the pupils, there was quite a bit of talk across the media about getting the children to do 60 minutes of exercise a day. Exercise. For me, exercise has always been cycling and walking. They have been my favourites. Cycling I have not done now for several years. Walking, well, over the last 15 months there's not been a lot of that either. But my ideal is to pack a rucksack, put on an appropriate outfit and head out for a day's walking in the countryside. As I say, there have been few and far between opportunities to do that during the last 15 months, and you don't need me to tell you the reasons why. Instead, walking Corby Woods and the paths of the estate have become the walks of the day. More recently, my walks, if I'm alone, have to be where there are pedestrian crossings, underpasses or quiet streets with little traffic. This is all well and good, but it's a bit difficult sometimes to get your 10,000 steps in. So the plan was that I came up with a route, and each day I would try and find ways of extending it a little bit and aim for my 10,000 steps. This was going quite well. I was finding little cul-de-sacs I could include. I was finding different ways round to get from one bit to another that was a little bit longer but was still safe, and it was going swimmingly. Until, of course, one day there was a path and a road I didn't know, hadn't been down, and I ventured that way and thought, well, this has got to be good. So up I went, and at one point I thought, well, maybe it'd be a good idea to turn left. So I turned left, followed the path, and within a short time discovered I was surrounded by houses on four sides with large green areas in the middle. Now, one of the other things I do, even though nowadays they're a very common sight, is I still pause, if possible, to watch the red kites soaring above. And just as I was standing pondering what I should do, whether I should just turn around and retrace my steps, or ask someone, or try and find, there had to be a way out of this place, try and find where the path was, a kite came into view. So I stood and I watched the kite, and the kite did as they do. It circled and it soared, and eventually it disappeared. Just as I was putting my head back down to decide what to do, I spotted a cross. So I looked and turned, and lo and behold, yes, there was a large cross, and this cross was on the top of St Ninian's Church on Beanfield Avenue, Church of Scotland. I don't think I'd ever noticed this cross before, shining in the sunlight, glittering. So there I was in this estate that I didn't know the way out of, but there was the cross. So all I needed to do was to aim for that cross, and then I would know exactly where I was and my safe route back home. And that was what happened. I did find a footpath, followed it, brought me out to where I was near enough to where I needed to be, and off I went back home. We wear crosses around our necks, some of us, some of the time. Some of us carry crosses in our pockets, in our purses. Some of us carry a copy of something to do with a cross, just to read if we're somewhere and we have a quiet moment. But do we lift the cross up? Do we show Jesus? Do we have any difficulty doing that? This cross had been there presumably since the church was built, and yet I'd never noticed it before, not that I can recollect. And before Easter, the church a little bit further up the street, the Church of England, St Peter's and Andrews, someone there had taken the time and the trouble to mow the grass so that there was a large cross visible for anyone walking by. How do we show the cross in our lives? Do we show the cross? Do we lift high the cross, as hymn 276 in Singing the Faith says? Just my thought, possibly something for you to ponder about what you do with the cross in your daily life. God bless you all. Bye for now.